Welcome back to the channel, everyone. Captain CA here. What do I have for you today? Well, we kind of have a cloudy, rainy day today. So I've been in the shop. I've been going over a lot of the comments that we have right here on FlatsClass YouTube, and even some of the comments that I get at FlatsClass University. And there's a common thread in there that gets asked on a fairly regular basis. And it's, what if you only had a couple of lures that you could take fishing? What would they be? Well, that's really an impossible question. I would want to put it in a real life scenario like, okay, let's say this. Let's say I can only bring one 3700 size tackle box, or Colony 28 in my case, because I'm a BUZBE fishing tackle box guy. What would I put in it for this time of year? We're kind of getting into spring now, but we're a little bit further away from summer. What would I put in that box to have a decent day on the water, whether I'm kayak fishing, shore fishing, or fishing from a skiff or center console? So I picked a couple of baits. This is completely objective. I mean, totally objective. For what I would call most places that are going to have water temperatures between the high 60s up to high 70s. And what would they be? So I was like, let me pick a couple of solid picks that I think all of you would be interested in and just reveal them to you. So let's go inside the studio and I'll show you what I put together. This is completely objective, and we're having some fun with this because it's just one of those questions that comes up all the time. And a lot of it is because I have fresher faces showing up here subscribing to FlatsClass YouTube, which I want you to do right now. Subscribe to this channel and hit that notification bell. You don't want to miss these killer little episodes that we do. Before we get going on this, let's talk about one of the sponsors or partners that I have for YouTube, and that is BUZBE Tackle, okay? BUZBE Fishing makes some of the best tackle boxes that are in the industry. And it's just not tackle boxes. They have, which I'm going to show you a bunch of the stuff, these little fast flats speed bags that you can set plastics and hook bags and things like that in it. They have these little quick cubes that you can, again, act as if they're speed bags, and you can put nearly anything that you want in here. They make these in a couple of different sizes and depths, so very good for keeping organized so you don't have all those plastic bait bags sliding around in the bottom of your compartments. This 15 size is a nice complement to the 28. And then they even have this little 8T, which is very thin. That's perfect for terminal tackle. So if you're considering maybe getting some new tackle stores, tackle organization projects going, I would highly recommend BUZBE, because the construction is second to none. Go to their website and look at some of the tests that they put this stuff through. It's amazing. All right, without further ado, let's get to why I chose what's inside this BUZBE Tackle Box. Here we go. Inside, if you can only take one box this time of year, just in case you watch this video 6 months from now, this time of year is March. You know, we're moving from winter patterns into solid springtime patterns. And water temperatures. So if I'm limited to taking one box, and I can't take everything, you know, I can't take all the stuff that I would take if I were going in my own boat. Let's just say this is something that you're going along with a friend, or you throw this in the truck and you just want to keep it in the truck in case you get invited to go fishing, or you see an interesting place on the way home where you can walk in and fish. This would be a good little box to have. So I'll go compartment by compartment, so to speak, because we have that ability here. Let's start over here with the long tray, because all these trays pop out of these boxes, so you can totally customize this tackle box. In this tray, I'm going to bring two, what I'm going to say, suspending baits that I can cover a ton of water with. They're search baits, just because you can cast them so far, and you're working that horizontal water column, generally speaking, between 2.5 feet and probably 4 foot of water. And that would be the Catch 5 and the 27 MR. And I can do certain things to both of these plugs to lighten them up, mostly through lightening up the split rings and lightening up the hooks themselves, so I can make them float a little shallower with a little tweaking modification. But these two baits are solid picks for me this time of year, because the bait fish showing up, some of the healthier, more mature bait fish that are showing up in the larger pinfish, are in this size category. And if I'm going to fish, I want to fish for a big one, that's what I'm going to bring. I'm going to bring one of each of these, because I can't bring, a ton of stuff. I only got one box. You'll notice that I picked one dark and one lighter color. And I love these baits. These baits work fine for me. I got tons of confidence in them. I know I'm going to catch snook. I know I'm going to catch speckled trout. And I know I got an excellent shot with that darker color of probably catching a good redfish. Moving up from that tray, I'll snap that one back in. I'm going to pick this tray, which has 5-inch diesel minnows. That's right, 5-inch diesel minnows. Now, I put a couple of different colors in here, but the two most contrasting colors are these: Sexy Penny and Pearl Blue Glimmer. Pearl Blue Glimmer is probably the best-selling color of all time at Z-Man for soft baits, for soft Elastec baits. But I can rig this on a larger rigging hook, like a 5/0 rigging hook with a bullet weight in front of it. I can use one of the pieces of terminal tackle that Z-Man's famous for, like the chin locks or the ZWG, and some of the larger sizes in 1/4 ounce. Does a fantastic job with these. Or I can just put a nice big heavy 1/4 to 3/8 jig headed in. Again, it lets me work varying depths, so I'm not limited on the depth. I can work it super shallow, like 2 foot of water, 1.5 foot of water, and I can work it as deep as 6 feet of water if I want to. I just picked the one bright color in case it happens to be a darker day, and then I picked one natural color in case I'm fishing super clear water, and I've got good light penetration. Moving on, next tray, I'm looking at this one. In here, I've put a couple of 5-inch jerk shads. I love the red bone, kind of very much a baitfish pattern. Very scaly with the red glitter in it. Does a good job. And then I put a couple of 4 inches in the new penny in case I need to emulate more of a shrimp. Something where I can bounce it sharply off the bottom with maybe a ball head jig or something like that, where I might use a trout eye jig head with this, or use a rigging hook with this particular bait and give it that side to side erratic action that drives trout and snook nuts. Moving on, I've got a couple of topwaters in the next two trays, and I picked them based off frequency and based off baitfish patterns. Okay, so the first one is the old Woody Woodpecker number 11 color from Mirrolure. This is a top pup. I pick a shorter walking bait because it has a tighter walk. I can walk it quicker that way, which appeals to snook, but it's also a lot easier for redfish when they pile up behind it. They can get a hold of a shorter bait than they can a long, wide walking bait. This one doesn't walk as wide, so that's the choice there. Plus, it just gives me a size chance opportunity there with a smaller one, and it's a lower frequency rattle. Now, if I want to work something that floats a little higher in the water column, especially low light situations where I need to draw them from 5, 6, 7 feet of water, I've got the She-Dog, higher pitch rattles, and this bait works head up really fast. Probably one of my favorite baits of all time, this black back, silver bodied bait. Reminds me of the old days when I used to throw spooks all the time. Next compartment up here, again, another bait that allows me to cover water quite effectively, especially on those windy days, and it's this little box here. I've got a number of different spoons in here, from the Live Bait Aqua Dream spoon, Oh, whoops, I almost stuck myself there. Lost that one. The green spoon. Fortunately, I got another white spoon in here, and the white spoon. All of these spoons are great choices if you're fishing over cover like rock and things like that. You don't want to get snagged. I like to fish a lot of windy banks. Windy bank fishing is one of my favorite things to do. I don't like to fish slick banks as much unless it's winter time. So spoons work great on windy banks. I love that afternoon sea breeze. Those spoons are fantastic for it. In the next compartment, I've got shrimp imitators. I love the Z-Man Easy Shrimp. I can rig it a number of different ways. I can rig it Texas style. I can rig it on a little head, usually like a ball type head, because it doesn't get, I'm going to say, caught in the rocks where I fish as easy. I can also rig this under a popping cork if I wanted to. It's always good to have a shrimp lure in your box. I sight fish quite a bit, and I can put this on a lighter jig head or a rigging hook and sight fish with it, throw the fish. Then one I know I'm going to catch fish on. There's just no doubt. This has been a hot bait for me ever since last summer, and that's these little 3.3 Mullitrons. Now they make it in a 4.0, and then you can get the line through versions in 4.5 and 6.0. But these little baits right here, they have been fantastic for me. They have a different swim than a paddle tail. A paddle tail kind of rolls, and sometimes if you roll it too fast, it'll even roll over on its side. Not these guys. Doesn't matter if you roll them slow or if you roll them fast, that little wedge tail keeps them perfect, and it's a nice tight wiggle. They look super natural in the water. They have that small finger mullet or even mud minnow. I've got another color in here called Houdini. If I'm fishing in a dark little corner with oyster bars and mud on the bottom, I'll throw something like Houdini. If I'm out over grass or sand, I'll throw something like Bad Shad that's got a little bit of flake in it. It's very scaly. Game changer. Really good. If you're throwing paddle tails, start throwing those Mullitrons. I guarantee you'll catch fish. All right, this category goes without saying. I never go anywhere without Mirrodines. Mirrodines are the way to go. I picked a couple of different colors. I picked a very natural color with this mullet pattern. You could pick the pinfish pattern. I picked another color here that I like. It's kind of a fossilized green minnow, but it looks like most of the pilchard style baits that are on the flat. I love the barred look. And then in case I'm fishing just a creek and I pull over on the side of the road somewhere, I'm fishing a ditch along 41 or something, I've always got my little Wayne color, which is black and gold. So good stuff there. And then lastly, in the last two little compartments here, I keep some Bugs jigs, you know, whether I'm throwing the curl tail jig from Bugs or if I'm throwing, I think this is a curl tail jig here. I meant to put this Beastie Bug in there. But these are great little baits that I can just kind of swim the rabbit hair, rubber-legged, real great weed guard here. I fish them in shallower zones, usually on slower gear ratios because I'm throwing them on casting gear most of the time. I like to cast them out and I like to reel them at a straight speed but slow so I can feel the grass because they really don't get snagged up. Unless you're really heavy to aggressive. If you're fishing checkered bottom, these things are the bomb. And another little retrieve pattern is to roll it 3 or 4 times, stop it. And that way it just kind of goes like this. Roll it 3 or 4 times and it just goes like that. So it just kind of hops along the bottom. That gets a fantastic reaction too. So if any of you are wondering, you know, that have asked that question, you know, what would I put in a day box? Well, we went through it pretty quickly there, and I think now you have kind of an idea for springtime what you should have in it. Now, let me tell you something I'm really excited about, and that is FlatsClass University. Here on FlatsClass YouTube, I can teach all of you these quick-hitting tips. Do some pretty cool product reviews, and naturally we put things up like the Tidewater Diaries and some of my episodes of FlatsClass Television. But when it comes down to teaching you something that has some substance that will carry on to the water, I would have to group the videos in such a way that they turn into courses. Well, at FlatsClassUniversity.com, that's exactly what we've done. We're loading classes on there like topwater mastery, like how to find fish consistently and effectively every time you go. And then there's going to be what we call some zone courses like Mosquito Lagoon, Charlotte Harbor, Tampa Bay, Jacksonville, Florida. And those are going to start dropping where I'm actually teaching them with another one of my professional colleagues from that area. So look for that stuff coming and coming soon if you're part of FlatsClass University or you're thinking about being a part of FlatsClass University. It's more than just the education that you get there. You also, in your subscription, are going to get a lure every month with a QR code with me teaching you how to work that bait, how to rig that bait, what type of tackle you're going to need to accomplish to be able to fish that bait, time of year, all of that stuff, water temperature, all the technical things that you would need to know to be effective with that bait. You're also going to get a pretty deep discount, somewhere between 10 and 20% on all brands, not just specific brands, but all brands at sodiumusa.com. So, something to consider for those of you that want to learn a lot more about inshore fishing. All right, speaking of sodium, I'm on my way down there this morning. I got to go pick up my new bait casting reel because we're going to be doing a review on that one sometime, well, coming up in the next week or so. All right, until then, you guys keep those rods bent and let's hope for some better weather.